minute. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? You know who it is. It's your boy KJ, and welcome back to Faith After Five. And this is part three of the Genesis series. So today we're going to be talking about the flood. So pre-flood, flood and family, right? And family disobedience and how all this correlated into making the laws and then Jesus coming to redeem those laws as always. So let's just hop right into it. So in Genesis 6, right, sin is starting to spread wickedly through the nation. It's having sexual corruption, constant evil thoughts. It's just a bunch of everything going on. They done had some men of renown. Some people think that it's angels. I don't think so. They say angels came down and started, you know, doing the do, coming into the women and making giants, but that's for another theological argument. I won't get into that right now. But there's a lot of sexual impurity, there's a lot of morality issues, and God basically said, I gotta do something about this mess. Yeah, I gotta clean it up, right? So before the flood, humans had became completely unraveled, unrestrained, unworthy, unsaturated, unadulterated, and anything else other than but holy and unholy. Did I say that right? They had become anything other than holy, so they were unholy, right? They had no more boundaries. The system was all messed up, and it all began with that one man and woman. But the man sinned. He was supposed to be the leader. And now look at this, all right? And this is something that I checked out last night. I was at my men's group. Imagine having to live in a time where your sin causes the corruption of all these things that's going on around you. And you're living to see the fruits of your mistake been over and over and over and over and over. And your mistake caused so much sin in the world and it caused so much wickedness in the world that God said, I'm just going to wipe y'all out. Now, I don't think Adam probably lived long enough to see the flood. I'm pretty sure he didn't because he died at 936 years old or something like that, 938 years old. But he was around long enough to see that humanity was going down, right? So he had done seen, Cain kill Abel. He had done been through Elimelech killing Cain. And then he's seen like all this other corruption going on because, Enoch was born and then another Enoch and all this other stuff, all the way down the line. So he gets to see his mistake of telling the woman not to put the fruit down. Put it down, woman. And instead he just ate it and just fell into the sin. And then boom, he get to watch all these things happen daily over and over and over. And more corruption, more corruption, more corruption. All because he was hard headed and didn't lead the way. Mm. But anyways, so now we're in Genesis 6. So before the flood, humanity had reached a point where everything they did was continuous evil. Violence filled the earth, more corruption became the norm rather than the exception, excuse me. And this was not an isolated sin, but this was a total societal breakdown. So everybody in society was just doing whatever they felt like doing. And God is a just God, so he said he had to do something about it. Adam had done set it off. Cain had done killed Abel. Elimelech had done took more than one wife and killed Cain, so forth and so forth. So retribution had begun. So in Genesis 6:5, God saw that there was wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every imagination of thoughts in their heart was only evil continuously. And it repented that the Lord that he had made man on earth, and it grieved him at his heart. Can you imagine walking around with a divine being that had given you everything? And he's like, and I don't know what God probably said, but and I'm pretty sure he ain't like, oh Lord, what I did, because he's the Lord, but he probably like, man, what did I do? I done created these jokers. I look at them, they just down here just in a cesspool of sin, just living the vida loca and all kind of stuff. And now, man, my heart grieved because what I had made for perfect, this man done ruined. But anyway, so then God, in Genesis 6, 11 through 14, the earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all the flesh had corrupted it his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah that the end of the flesh has come before me, for all the earth is full of violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. And so make thee an art of gopher and wood, and rooms you shall make in the ark, and you shall pitch it within and without with pitch. So, God told Noah to go ahead and make the ark, go ahead and take your family, go into the ark, and then I'm gonna make it rain, and he ain't in there with the terror, but he's gonna make it rain, and he's gonna kill off all the human beings, all the flesh that is going on, except for the people that's on the ark, and all the animals that you take on the ark, and then, there's the retribution for everything that's going on. So the flood is God's judgment, but not only is this his judgment, but it's his way to reset everything that he had done did. So he created it. He seen that it was flawed. He was like, I'm gonna recreate this thing again. I'm gonna start over, but I'm gonna keep you because I find you to be righteousness in my eyes. Take your wife, take your kids' wife, take these animals, get on the boat, float around for a few days, take a raven, take a dove, and at the end of it, I'm gonna show you a rainbow. And then you send these animals off, and when they come back, they're gonna bring you an piece of an olive fig, and then that'll let you know that everything is dried up, and you can go back on the earth, be fruitful and multiply, and start this thing over. All right. So afterwards, God introduced foundational principles for human society, including accountability for bloodshed. This establishes the sacredness of life and the seriousness of violence. Later, the law was given to Moses, expands on this outlining detailed moral and ethical boundaries, particularly in the areas of sexual conduct and community holiness. These laws are designed to prevent humanity from returning to the chaos that it had been in before the flood. So on Leviticus 18:24 through 27 said, defile not ye yourselves of any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. So before a time when he's talking to Moses and he's saying, hey, and he's talking to the Israelites, he's saying, before I had to do the flood, because all these things that the people were doing, I had to reset this thing over. So do not engage in the wickedness. And also, they had to took the people out of Egypt who was engaging in wickedness, right? Therefore, I do not visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomited out their inhabitants. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgment, and you shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourn among you. For all these abominations men have done in the land which were before you, and the land is defiled. So again, he's reiterating to Moses, let him know, like, look, you remember what happened? You remember what happened before? Now I said I wasn't gonna take y'all out with a flood again, but don't make me take you out. I brought you in this world, and I'll take you out. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? So in Genesis 9, violence had them fill the earth. And if God came back and said, whosoever shed a man's blood, so shall his blood be shed. So the capital punishment had then came into play. All right. So violence in Genesis 6 revealed that humanity's corruption, prompting God to establish justice rooted in his image, because I made man in my image. Y'all are killing something that I made, and this blood is for me. Like, these are my kids, these are my children, this is my creation. You do not have the governing authority to kill what I created without my permission, right? Just like nobody has the right to come in your house and beat your kids without your permission. Now, some of y'all need y'all kids beat in them grocery stores, but we know that you still can't beat them kids without a parent's permission. So that's exactly what God's saying, is that you're not just going to take nobody life that I gave life, that I breathed into, and you don't think that nothing's going to happen to you. So if you kill something that I created, I need you gone. You feel me? So this command against shedding blood introduces moral accountability. Life is sacred, not disposable. God says that all life belongs to him. So if anyone murders another human being, God will require a life for life. Whoever sheds man blood by man, his blood shall also be shed. God gives these principles more structure later on, and more developed structural justice in Numbers 35. So, in number 35, it kind of breaks it down into where he kind of gives more of an instruction like, hey, if it's by accident and the person, goes into refuge, then and he goes into refuge, okay, cool. But if it's on purpose and you catch this man, then go ahead and do what you got to do. He shall be killed. But he also understood that some things happen on accident. So if you was doing something, you was out in the field, and let's say you was swinging your pitch or your axe or something like that, and all of a sudden, because they was making tools back then, they had toolmen, they had people that made tools and all this other stuff. So you swinging your axe or you swinging whatever, and it mess around and go off and hit somebody in the head and kill them, then you didn't want to be like, dang, he killed my brother, man. You know what I'm saying? It did. All of a sudden now, you want to kill him because he accidentally killed your brother or sister or whatever, right? So he didn't want that. So he obviously gave them guidance on how to determine and make a judgment on if this was murder or if this was accidental homicide. You know what I'm saying? So the first formal justice laws were given to humanity, and then we come into the honoring, the dishonoring, right? So you had Noah's son, and I'm gonna tell you a secret. It's always the younger one. It's always the younger one. So Ham dishonors in Genesis 9 through 20, 9:20 through 27, exposing a deeper breakdown of respect and order within the family dynamic. So God later formalizes this through the command in Exodus 20:12, and he establishes, thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother. And this was a pillar of the covenant of life. And this narrative shows that where honor is lost, disorder follows. So God transformed a failure into law, preserving authority, stability, and generational blessings. So we know, and we say this all the time, it starts in the house with the parents, right? And we all as parents, we make mistakes. Cool. But back then, the kids were they was wild. And just like the kids of the day was wild. So if you read the Bible and where it say it'll be just like in the days of Noah. And you see all these little bad kids walking around doing their thing. They call them why? You know what? I ain't gonna say it, but you know what they call them. You know what I'm saying? They're out of control, man. It's out of control, and it's the same way it was in the days of Noah. And they said in the end times it would be in the same way it was in the days of Noah. Right. So we see this. So when you see these little bad kids running around and their parents ain't doing nothing to kind of stop them, just like I don't know if you know this story, but do you remember those three kids that tried to break into the guy's house and the guy ended up killing them? I know he killed at least one of them. And the mother was in court saying all he tried to do was rob him. These kids had guns and was trying to break into somebody's house. Lady, you're a problem. You didn't raise your kids right. So that that's kind of shows you like why God gave us these type of structures, right? Why he gave us these kind of moral laws and these moral codes to say, hey, I'm gonna take something that y'all are making bad and I'll put some structure around it so you can fix yourselves. God delegated down his justice for us to govern ourselves. And we can't even do that because we think that free will means that we should be able to do whatever we want to do. And that's not the case. And here's another problem that we don't think that we should guide our kids into a place for them to be successful. I've heard it all the time. I'm gonna just let them do it. I'm gonna let them figure it out. I'm gonna let them do what they want to do. No, 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 no. God did not tell us to do that. He didn't say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna put this law in, but let your kids figure it out." No, He gave us these laws so we can guide our kids in the way that they're supposed to go. Right? Whatever my kid want to do, I'm gonna support them, and that's fine. But you should be guiding them Not saying that don't support your kids, but they shouldn't be able to do whatever they want to do. You should bring some kind of structure and discipline and guidance into your kids' life. Some kind of institutionalization into their lives so they have structure together. God gave us structure with these laws. We should be giving the same thing to our kids. We're his kids. We should be giving the same thing to our kids. All right. So, so God transforms a failure into law, preserving authority, stability, and generational blessings. Family structure is foundational to society. Dishonor in Genesis became a command in Exodus. This section revealed that without boundaries, humanity drifts towards corruption. The law serves as a protective framework, setting limits that preserve both individual and integrity and social stability. God commands are not arbitrary restrictions. They are safeguards against the destructive patterns already proven in Genesis. The flood demonstrates the consequences of unchecked sin. The law provides a structure to prevent such total collapse from happening again. All right, so God, as we go through these sections of the Genesis, right, and this is what it's all about, is that we seeing how the law is going to provide structure to to help us prevent these things again. But God know, as we are humans, we are, I don't want to say the S word, we are not as intelligent as we think we are. And that's why he says nothing new, there's nothing new up under the sun. And that's why he also said it'll be just like the days was in Noah. We will continue to revert back to our evil and wicked ways because we want to push against what God has designed for good and try to use our own free will to think that we can be the deciders of what's good and what's evil when God has already told us what's good and what's evil, right? So how does Jesus come into play in all this, right? As I get ready to wrap this up. So in the balance in Genesis 6, God established the principle that the blood is his, it's a sacred, and that blood requires justice. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, all that good stuff. So ultimately points at Luke that if you shed blood, that your blood is required, that Jesus took that on by shedding his blood on the cross. But if you also remember in Matthew 38, excuse me, Matthew 5:38 through 39, he said, you have heard that it was said an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn him also the other. And he's not saying like, don't defend yourself. And I know a lot of people try to use this as like, don't defend yourself. He's reverting back to how the laws was because he came to fulfill the law, obviously, that if somebody killed you or killed, don't go seek revenge. The revenge is his. Revenge is mine, said the Lord. Remember that verse? So before in the Old Testament, if somebody killed your brother, you had the right to go back and kill him. Well, now Jesus has already atoned for these sins that are committed, murders and stuff like that. So you do not have the right to go back and seek revenge. God is going to seek the justice now. Where he delegated back in the day for us to be able to seek the justice on his own, and we didn't do it the right way, he's saying, look, I'm going to get the justice in the end. If somebody kill your brother or your sister, you don't go get the justice. Let me handle that. I got it. It's on my clock. It's on my docket. I'm going to make sure it's taken care of, all right? So also enhance this honor in Genesis 6, the brokenness of human respect and authority contrast with Jesus, who perfectly honored his father, God, in John 8:49. Where where Adam's line dishonored God, Christ restores the obedience and became the new Adam, right? Even the command in Exodus 20:12 find the fullest expression in Jesus, who both fulfills the laws and the model in perfect honor. All right. So Jesus honored God. He didn't do no sin. He didn't commit no sin. And of course, we always seen that every time it was something, he always went and prayed, talked to God, and he let it be God's will, not his own will. All right. So every time that he got ready to do something, it was God, let it be your will. And that's the way that we should also be. We should always have a conference with God and make sure we're doing it by his will and not our own standards and statutes. All right. So that is the flood. and that is family dishonor. And you know, Ham, that boy was a piece of work, man. He instead of him covering up his father, he went to go, you know the story, right? Right. All right, cool. So, anyways, just to wrap this up, this is Genesis, the laws. I mean, Genesis sins, laws, and Jesus fulfillment, part 3. If you like the way I break this down, please leave a comment below in the comment box. If you don't like the way I break it down, please leave a comment below in the comment box, and then I'll clean it up or I'll fix it up, or I'll find a different way to explain it. Either way, hope y'all like this video. I'm gonna see y'all next time. Love y'all.